There we go. Welcome. I'm Kerriann Flanagan Brosky. And who else do we have?
I am Joe Giaquinto, stuck in the web preview here. I cannot get out of the TV screen
All
here.
right.
Hang on a second. There we go.
Technical difficulties.
This is
here
going to be,
for a moment.
it is one of those days. All
you
right,
go.
Here we are. And where are you? Kerriann, I've lost you. There you are.
I'm still here, but I'm in miniature. We got to get this webinar intro off. There we go.
Oh,
All
it's
right.
going to be a fun night tonight.
Thank you for joining us, and thanks for putting that nice intro together, Joe, every week. I appreciate it. And that's always one of my favorite photos of me at the as the journalist at Execution Rocks Lighthouse. So we have a really fun event for you tonight, a nice webinar. Oh, and we're getting already some information here in our chat room from Angela. It's always fun with you guys. We try to make it fun. I've watched a couple of boring webinars here and there, so I made sure I said to Joe that we can never be boring. So I hope you enjoy our humor at times. But tonight we're going to be talking about a serious subject, but we will have fun with it for sure. We're going to be talking about Execution Rocks Lighthouse. Now, I know for those of you who have been on our webinar before, we've mentioned this many times about this lighthouse because it is one of our favorites. But tonight, we're going to go into an in-depth study, and we're going to show you never before seen photographs that I have taken. And I think Joe has a couple too.
I do.
Joe, I'm even going to tell you some stories that I don't think you know about the lighthouse.
Now I'm already losing. I'm going to have nightmares tonight. Scary.
Yeah,
No,
there's a lot with this.
There is, right? I'm ready.
The Execution Rocks appeared in my second ghost book originally, Ghosts of Long Island, More Stories of the Paranormal, the second volume. And it was really one of our favorite assignments. And the lighthouse today is really in very bad disrepair. I actually saw it from a sailboat a couple of years ago, and I couldn't believe how much worse it had gotten since you and I had been there, Joe. It has really become very decrepit, which is upsetting. So it looks even spookier than it did back when we took these photos.
You know, Kerriann, it's the energy, the negative energy, I'm sure, is consuming that whole
It
island.
is, but I mean, it's in the middle of Long Island Sound, which is the other thing. So it really takes a beating. But I think we could say, Joe, right, that it was one of our favorite assignments for a variety of reasons.
Yes, it was. I mean, my takeaway from the visit was just call me Magnum PI. I mean,
don't give anything away yet.
I'm sorry.
I saw in the intro. I saw that picture though.
You see that little helicopter? Yeah, we have more of that later.
Okay, good.
So yeah, I found it fascinating. It was sad. It was exciting. It was kind of creepy. I thought the Coast Guardsmen the Homeland Security guys were just very professional.
Without a doubt.
Really taking a ride out there. I thought there was a lot of coordinating that you had to do.
Yes.
Plus they had to do with the time and the tide and the day and everything. So it was amazing. It actually went off really without a hitch.
It did.
For me trying to climb up that ladder to the lens.
Oh, we'll get into all of that.
Yes. Okay.
We have some funny pictures.
I do.
And for those of you who don't know us, I'm an author and a photographer and a historian and a ghost investigator. And I've written 8 books. The majority of them are nonfiction, but I have co-authored an Italian cookbook with Mr. Sausage in Huntington. My other love is food. And I also wrote one novel called The Medal, which has to do with Padre Pio, the saint who bore the stigmata. And it's based on a true story of what happened during my father's long battle with multiple sclerosis and a miracle that took place the night he passed away. And I met my book deadline for my 9th book, Haunted Long Island Mysteries. I sent it off to my commissioning editor
Yay.
a week ago. So I had taken last week off, and that book is scheduled for release in September. And keep your fingers crossed that we will be able to finally do in-person events again. I'm so excited to share the new book with everybody. I'm really looking forward to it. We've worked very hard on the book,
We did.
and
We did a
we
lot.
have some great photos in there, great phenomenon. So,
And some great recordings.
some great recordings. Yeah,
You're not going to believe.
yeah, it was really, really good. So we're looking forward to that. So Joe, if you want to make a quick introduction in case
Yeah,
people
sure.
are new
Yeah,
to our webinar.
Sure. So I've been in the paranormal business really since 1980. I had the fortune of moving into a haunted house upstate when I got out of college. And from that experience, I was interested in the paranormal. And then I was very lucky to meet Kerriann in 2005 during one of her lectures. And she was looking for someone to assist her in working on her ghost book. She wanted someone that had some paranormal field experience. So I opted in on that, and we've been working now for 16 years, and
I know, it's hard to believe.
it's great. And we've never had the monster come out of the closet, as they say. Our experiences with the paranormal have been very very good.
Yeah, very positive.
Really, very positive. So and then I do the psychic work as well. So that grew out of our many experiences where I started to get tuned into what was going on. So we use that in our work now, which will be in the new book, will be a lot of that.
Right, exactly. I always tell people, Joe, that you are our own ghost hunting tool, because
And I don't need
rely on
batteries.
your and you don't need batteries because we rely on your mediumship. So that's great. So we look forward to sharing that with you. So now to get involved, to get started, I should say, with Execution Rocks Lighthouse. When I was writing the second ghost book, I really wanted to include a lighthouse in it. And I happened upon a book. I was involved with the Long Island Authors Group. I had eventually become president of that group. And I met a man by the name of Robert G. Mueller. And he had written, it was a 5-year project. He had written a book called Long Island Lighthouses, Past and Present, which I own. And it was extensive research. Like I said, it took him 5 years to do this project, and it offered a wealth of information. And I'm already interested in lighthouses, so I'm reading along. And then I found out about Execution Rocks Lighthouse, which I had no knowledge about prior to reading his book. And the lighthouse is located on a very dangerous rocky reef 1 mile north of Sands Point, in the middle of the western end of the Long Island Sound. Mueller's chapter on Execution Rocks talked about a legend which caught my eye immediately. So I had it in my head that we had to go there. The lighthouse itself was owned and is still owned by the United States Coast Guard. So I had contacted someone that I had met at some point at the Eaton's Neck Lighthouse to try to find out who was in charge of it. They put me in touch with a petty officer in the Coast Guard sector in Queens. And then he put me in touch with a senior chief in aids and navigation in Bayonne, New Jersey. After several phone calls, I was in touch with Petty Officer BM1 Adam Negro at the Coast Guard Station base at the United States Merchant Marine Academy in Kings Point. And he was the one that actually got us in. But there was a lot of red tape. And I think at the time, I didn't tell them it was a ghost book. I told them that it was a historical project.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, which it was. Yeah, I didn't want them to think we were crazy. But we were able to get in at that point. So Joe, tell them what happened after that. Once we got the clearance and we set this day up, it was fabulous.
That's right. So once Kerriann made this connection, we set up the weekday visit. I think it was in mid-May in 2008.
Yes.
To go with 3 of the U.S. Coast Guardsmen on a 25-foot Homeland Security Response Boat. A lot of fun. Everything depended on the weather and the tides, since the lighthouse is located in the middle of the sound. Now, if the tide is too low, we would not be able to reach the ladder that would take us up to the lighthouse. Now, it rained on our first day and we had to reschedule. I remember that. But we got there. Now, the crew's main mission was search and rescue. And Kerriann and I were given orange, you'll see this in the pictures, orange U.S. Coast Guard life vests. I think it really actually said, I think it said Coast Guard on it.
Yeah.
And then we were seated in a small cabin. We were joined by 3 petty officers. Now, even from the beginning, our experience with the Coast Guard far exceeded expectations. I mean, they truly went above and beyond for us. You know, they made our trip comfortable. They were so nice to us. They really, so professional.
Yeah, they really were.
Even when
very
they knew
great experience.
even when they knew what we were doing, they were like, they were interested in it. And they knew that the lighthouse also had a lot of energy to it. Those strange things were happening. So they knew some of the history too. But they truly went above and beyond to make us really feel like it was an informative trip. It was a smooth 15-minute to 20-minute ride to the Sound, which carried us into depths of, I think it was like 107 feet.
Yeah, it was. And as we approached, I had been taking photographs. And so they slowed the boat down and positioned it in such a way that I was able to get some really great shots. And the closer we got, the depths dramatically changed to 12 feet. This is why it was very important to go out on a certain day, because we had to rely on the tides. Because if it got too low, we would have been stuck there, and it's not a place I would have wanted to be stuck.
Could you imagine being stuck there overnight?
No,
Oh my gosh.
And as they approached too, there are so many rocks. They had to be really careful with that we didn't bang into them, that kind of thing. So we pulled along alongside a gray stone slab where there was a single rung ladder, steel ladder that would bring us up to the lighthouse. So what a lot of people don't realize when we do these assignments is that there's a lot of physical aspects to our investigations that I don't even think we thought about when we first started out doing this work, Joe. But there was this was a lot of physical work that day, because I have all my camera equipment, which is quite heavy. And again, you're talking about this little tiny steel ladder that you're trying to hoist yourself up on. But as soon as we got past that ladder, I mean, the smell of this place was beyond comprehension. There were birds all over the rocks, and they immediately took flight as soon as we, stood up and got onto the main level. And the smell of it, though, it was a combination of bird dung, dead birds, clamshells, and rot.
Boy, that sounds like a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, I know. It was terrible.
Yeah, the lighthouse is a 60-foot conical white stone tower with a large brown band wrapped around the structure midway of its height. And there's a 2.5-story stonekeeper's house that is attached to one side. The lighthouse was built of granite and brick lining, and it stood on a dressed stone and timber foundation, which was enclosed by a government barbed wire fence. Now, beyond laid the treacherous rocks. Now, there were large birds' nests, many containing eggs that are intermingled amongst the boulders.
And again, like I said, the smell of this place, I had long hair, which you'll see in the upcoming photos. But when I got home, I remember my hair, my camera equipment, everything reeked of this place. It really is quite pervasive. Something. So again, these rocks were there for a long, long time. We're going to get into some of the stories of before there was a lighthouse, when it was just the rocks. But so you know a little bit more about the lighthouse. It was actually under the presidency of Abraham Lincoln that plans were made to build this lighthouse on the dangerous reefs.
I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Yeah. It was March 3rd, 1847, that the lighthouse was built at a cost of $25,000. That was the designated amount of money to build the lighthouse on the reef. And the architectural designer was named Alexander Paris, and he was hired to design it. And a man by the name of Thomas Butler had won the lowest bid to have a contract to actually do the construction of it. His efforts were, as they say, less than desirable, and the bulk of the work ended up being done by subcontractors. Because of this, there was a delay in completing the lighthouse, so it was a year behind schedule when it was finished.
Boy, nothing's changed with the government, right?
Right.
Beyond schedule and above budget, and
right, exactly. So it took a bit.
took a bit. When it was first built, it was all white, and no lighthouse keeper's house was next to it. Now, the keepers of the light lived in the circular room on the lowest floor of the structure, and I remember that room. Boy, that's in bad shape. Through an easterly window, the keeper would ring a bell, warning to passing ships traveling through the fog. Whether they heard the faint ring of the bell is unknown, and probably not. They probably didn't hear it. Later, a trumpet operated by a steam from a second floor boiler took the place of the bell before the onset of the siren. And then following the siren was the famous foghorn.
Right, the foghorn. As for the light, that was lit in 1850. The first keeper of the light was a man by the name of Daniel I. Calkins, and he was also the keeper of the light for the Sands Point Lighthouse. He did not live there. Instead, one of Calkins' assistants and his wife took up residency in the small circular space that Joe spoke about, which measured only 26 feet in diameter at the base. The light was in service until the 1970s.
Yes, and now that you know a little bit about the history of the lighthouse, let's get into the legends and the ghost stories.
Yes, exactly. Well, there are so many. When I lecture in person, I always just tell the Revolutionary War story. Right. But tonight, again, because we're doing this in-depth study, I would like to tell you about some of the other research that I've done and what I have found out. And again, Joe, some of this, unless you've read the book recently, you might not remember some of these stories, but there are a lot of early stories. So I'll start with those. The earliest stories came from an article I found in the New York Times on June 18th, 1893. And the article spoke about the years before the British came to occupy Long Island. And the article actually spoke about the infamous pirate Captain Kidd. Now, in my last book, The Historic Crimes of Long Island, I actually have a whole story written about Captain Kidd and his escapades on Long Island. So there's a lot of stories with him. So this is a direct quote that I would like to read to you. It says, "There are strange stories of how Kidd took summary vengeance upon some of his crew and ornamented the pile of stones with dangling corpses of dissatisfied shipmates. There never was any treasure hiding there. It would have been hard digging for the hardy freebooter and his men, and there wasn't much acreage in the grim old pile of stone for hiding chests of ill-gotten possessions."
You know, Kerriann, I could just see you penning your murder book. You know,
yeah, exactly. So that was a new one. Now, in the same article, there was other nautical lore. The keeper of the light at the time the article was written was a man by the name of William H. Tooker. He and his assistant, Richard S. Ray, claimed, and again, this is a direct quote, "The name Execution Rocks is derived from the execution of some Spaniards many, many years ago." The article goes on to say that this legend serves the purpose of the present well enough, whether it was Kidd or the Spaniards from whom the name comes. So because of the people that were murdered there, that's where it started getting this name of Execution Rocks. And still other stories, it has been said that the Indians took the colonists there and they met their demise in a similar fashion. Other sources say the reef was noted specifically as Execution Rocks because the rocks executed so many ships that would crash into it. I mean, again, you have to remember we didn't have the navigation systems that modern ships have today. So oftentimes, especially at high tide, and if it was at night, these ships would not see these rocks and they would crash into it. So that just added to the whole thing.
It's just, now, you know, this whole thing, this lighthouse is just a disaster waiting to happen. I'll tell you.
It is. It is. Now, the next story, Joe, I don't think you've heard that. This was really interesting. This is about a specific ship. It was a steamer ship called Maine, like the state of Maine. And this incident occurred on February 4th, 1920. So it's a little bit more recent. The steamer was constructed in 1892 and it ran aground on the rocks due to high winds, a full moon tide, snow, and ice. It is said that the ship crashed stern first and almost hit the lighthouse, because by this point the lighthouse was there. Luckily, all on board survived, but they had 14 horses with them. Could you imagine this on the ship? They had been traveling with them. Because of the severe weather, however, they were not rescued from the rocks until 3 days later. The lighthouse station's drinking water had run out, so snow had to be melted in order to give the horses water. Can you imagine that?
Wow, Kerriann, I don't remember hearing about those stories, and those are really great.
Yeah.
And you know, the one I'm familiar most with is the one that you talk about at the lectures that we do about the British during the Revolutionary War.
That is the one that I discuss, and I read segments, and I am going to read segments of that tonight, because I have to say I really enjoy telling the story, and I like how I wrote it. So we will share that with you. So I pick these certain passages. But it had been on these rocks where the unthinkable possibly occurred. Like I said, I'm going to read this directly from the book. As the legend has been told, during the Revolutionary War and the Battle of Long Island, British soldiers were rounded up in what they were called American rebels in order to put them to death. Because they did not want to fuel revolutionary passions, they quietly took the Americans away for brutal torture and execution. Since the British had come in by ship, they were quite familiar with our waters. They knew of the treacherous Hell Gate where the East River, the Long Island Sound, and the Harlem River merged, creating something like a whirlpool with a 5.2 mile per hour current and strong cross currents. Once past this difficult stretch of waterway, the rocky sound was before them. They knew of a remote area where a large group of rocks stood upward and out of the water, which splashed around it violently. This grouping of rocks was so large, but often was not seen in fog or darkness, which is what we discussed before. Many a shipwreck had taken place, and many a life had been lost at sea. It was this area of rocky reef where the British soldiers' plans for the rebels unfolded. It has been said that the British secretly took them to this island of rocks where they beat them, drove spikes into the rocky reef, and then chained them to the rocks at low tide. As the tide rose, the American prisoners met their doom as they drowned beneath the icy waters. Other tales reveal that many of the prisoners met their fate by hungry sharks that happened upon a free meal. As if this wasn't enough, the newly captured were chained next to the skeletal remains of their former comrades, a way of torturing them mentally before they met their own watery demise. There is a line in the Declaration of Independence which reads, "The murders they commit on the inhabitants of these states." Now, according to my research, several historians believe that this line refers to the brutal accounts that took place on those rocks, and that this line was included as a memorial to those who died there. It is said that the ghosts of the condemned prisoners have remained at Execution Rocks. There is even one legend that suggests the ghosts sought revenge against the British. Not long after the hideous acts had taken place, a shipload of British soldiers were sent to pursue General Washington while on his retreat from Manhattan to White Plains. The British ship was wrecked at the reef, killing all the redcoats aboard. Many people have said that the ghosts that haunt the reef had caused the ship to crash. Now, this I read directly from the book. I failed to mention that the story originally that I wrote appeared in Ghosts of Long Island, the second book. But when I had written Historic Haunts of Long Island, and we had taken 10 stories from each ghost book and then had 10 new ones, so there was a total of 30. This was one of the crossover stories. So Ghosts of Long Island is only available in e-format now because it's been out of print for a while. But if you want to read the whole story of Execution Rocks, you can find it in Historic Haunts of Long Island. But I love reading it in front of a live audience because
it's fun.
just, you sort of get that vision of what was going on during that time.
Well, audiobooks are very popular for that reason, especially when you have someone who, is a good author, a good reader. They can really put in that emotion, the passion into the words. So it's an amazing story. It's very hideous. I can't even imagine it. I mean, just the nasty weather, the rocks, the cold, the freezing water. I mean, it would explain the rumors of sounds and screams, and including the EVP that we have of the lighthouse.
Yeah.
Yes,
well,
we're going to do that in a moment. We're going to show some pictures also and play.
What's interesting though?
I know you found the sources stating this during your research.
Yes, exactly. And the thing is, this is really interesting, an interesting point to make. With lighthouses, okay, they had the lighthouse keepers, as we discussed, and the agreements that lighthouse keepers had, whether it be with the government or whoever, they had these lease, like a lease, like you would rent a house or an apartment. And similar to renting an apartment, I guess it would say, okay, you're going to be here for 3 years, 5 years, whatever the extent of the lease was. Joe, I don't know if you know this, but Execution Rocks Lighthouse was the only lighthouse where it said that if a lighthouse keeper wanted to leave, they could leave immediately. And I will read you a direct quote that I found in my research. It says here, and this was written by Congress, the United States Congress. Any keeper assigned may at any time request that he be relieved without prejudice, since from this time on, no man shall ever feel chained to Execution Rocks. Because there was so many things that went on there, and there was so much energy, and that lighthouse keepers actually said that they heard these wailing sounds. Did we lose you, Joe?
No, I'm still here.
Okay, hold on. I lost myself. Can you still see me?
Yes. Oh, you're fine. Yeah, I see you.
There we go.
There we go.
See, the ghosts are.
The ghosts are already.
All of a sudden, I lost my whole screen.
Sometimes they light up Kerriann's background in the library there, and then other times they do.
Exactly.
I go to the other side of the veil.
Yeah. But isn't that an interesting point, though? That was the only contract where a lighthouse keeper, if they said it was too much, that they could just leave.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, my first experience upstate New York, I rented this boarding house, and the ghost kicked me out after 2 weeks. And I remember the landlord, the morning that I was going to leave, when he saw what happened, he said, "Do you want your rent back?" I said, it's unheard of.
Right.
So sometimes you get something that's just so outlandish like this, the experiences and people are having, that they have to come up with a contract like this. So we have some humorous things to show and play for you.
Yes. So do you want to talk about some of the, because, we did that whole show on the 10 different types of ghosts and what causes phenomenon. So if you could tell us a little bit, Joe, about what you think goes on. I mean, are there actual ghosts there? Is it trapped energy?
I think it's both. So I think because it's a conical shape, I think that there's great opportunity, and because there's so much tragedy, so much energy, trauma has gone into that whole section. think of it as charging up a battery, and the battery is now fully charged, and it's just discharging all this phenomena. So think about acoustically, the lighthouse inside, it's like a giant megaphone. So it's very easy, and with the seagulls, calling as they fly around, it's very easy for the spirits to utilize that energy to create sound phenomena. It's a creepy place when you go in there, and what I think adds to it is the deterioration of everything. Also changes the energy in the air. So
definitely.
So we're going to play. I think you want to do the photos first, and then we'll do.
Or unless you want to do the EVPs, whatever you have up first.
I'll do the photos first.
Okay.
Because the EVPs
we have a lot of photos.
We have a lot of photos. Now, Kerriann, I wanted to ask you, I don't show the pictures of the inside the boat. That might be secure. So I don't know. Should we show photo?
Yeah, no, I think we can.
It's
The ones
okay?
that I have are fine. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let me just unhide that. Okay. And okay, here we go. All right. So we're going to let me get the slideshow ready. And we will begin now. Kerriann, you and I had a lot of photos. So unfortunately, some of these are out of order. So we'll just
Yeah, that's fine. Because
we'll figure it out.
you added a bunch of your own.
I did.
Too.
I
Okay.
did. All right. I'm just about ready to go. We'll share.
It was
the
fun
screen
for me
here.
to actually look at the ones that we didn't pick for the book again. So I went through this whole thing.
You did, right?
And
Yeah.
picked it out. I said, wow, I forgot about these.
Yeah, there's some really good ones here. All right, let me see. I think we're about here. Let's see if this works. Can you see that all right?
Yep.
The Salty O'Hara. You know, I looked up Salty O'Hara. I tried to figure out who that was. Do you know anything about Salty O'Hara? Because
No,
I saw some references to it that there might have been someone who was a seaman that, you know, had I guess, a salty personality or something, but could also be maybe just like a mascot or something.
So this was out at the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy in Kings
Right. This is
Point.
Kings Point, right? Yeah.
Right.
Okay, and we just have to click on it here. Hey, there you are.
It's my
I don't know.
best.
Some of these pictures, yeah, there's a lot of pictures of Kerriann.
My much younger days.
That's right. You look like you're on your way to a ski trip or something.
Yeah.
And this is one of the large ships over there. I tell you, you know, you don't realize how big these vessels are until you're actually right next to them. And this is the Homeland Security boat. I think we're heading out of the port here.
Right.
And looking out on the horizon. These guys are so great.
Right.
Now, these rocks, are they at Execution? These are Execution.
Yeah, this is the part that juts out. So I don't know if that, I can't remember if that was something that like a helicopter could land on. I don't know if it's big enough. But it was a platform.
It does look like it looks like
I can't remember how big. I do have some pictures of this taken from the light so we could look down. But this was interesting. This was taken from the boat of one of the old prisons that are abandoned. That looked kind of spooky.
Isn't that
Right
spooky?
there,
That doesn't look
at
like
that.
something. That is spooky.
I forget which
just,
one that is.
Yeah, that is really creepy. And this is during the day.
Yeah.
But you're just having a good time over there. I'm just saying, I hope the ghost of Levi isn't going to knock anything off the table here, because they'll go like the trophy, like Tom Brady, you know.
Right.
I'll just throw you the camera.
There you go.
All right, and there's the lighthouse in the background. It's really, you know, it looks pretty benign here. I didn't realize how big the keeper's house was.
Yeah, it was big, but you see how long that stretch of the rocks.
Yeah, and this thing is really.
So, yeah.
Now with those, I never noticed that those windows, there was no glass on them. They were just open like that.
No, I think it was boarded. Some of them were broken.
Broken up. Yeah, this thing was in really bad shape. Okay, and there's
another
the rocks.
view of the rocks.
Okay, and this is was this one of your photos? This was a back of the keeper's house.
Oh, okay. Wait, we have an answer. I knew someone would have an answer.
Oh, good.
From Catherine Kirkpatrick. That is Hart Island, where the unclaimed dead of New York City are buried. That's right.
Oh, wow.
Prisoners helped to bury.
The Coast Guard
Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you, Catherine.
That's right. Okay. So now we've arrived, and you could see like on the ground here, like some of the stuff where the seagulls
you
dropped
stepped in. Yeah, you kind of stepped in the dropping
drops the
there.
shells. All right, this was exciting. Now these Coast Guardmen hadn't even gone into this. They had never been in here themselves. So it was three of them.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, it was their first time.
Oh.
They hadn't been inside either, and you could see like the barbed wire fence that we talked about. But I was all excited. I was like Nancy Drew, waiting to get into there.
Look at this thing.
See now, you know, one of them, they was looking, but you could see the windows with the, you know, pieces of wood. It was a crazy place.
It's a crazy, you know, I bet, would you imagine, you know, we can't do this, but if we had the opportunity to say, could we stay there one night, overnight? Oh my God.
Yeah, that would be very spooky.
Yeah.
I mean, you could see the condition of the walls, the peeling paint. There was a lot of asbestos
And
in places.
And Kerriann, you're very, you know, this had to bother you, all the smell and the rot and the dung and everything.
Yeah, it smelled horrible.
Yeah.
Oh, that was Fournier.
Fournier.
That's right.
These guys are so great. This is like right out of Baywatch, you know what I mean?
Right,
it's just,
right.
These guys are really professional. And so
And this was going up into the, I don't know if it was going up to, it must have still been in the keeper's house.
I think it was the keeper's house. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because the lighthouse, well, that was pretty tight in
Right.
there.
Oh, this is new. I don't remember this one. This must
That's
obviously
one of
the
mine.
service,
The batteries. Yeah.
the service area.
I think those are the batteries to run the generator or something for the light. I'm not
Right.
sure.
Venturing up.
Right. Is that my shoe or your shoe?
No, that's the Coast Guard.
Coast Guard shoe.
Now, there was like a spiral staircase that we had to go up first. And then to get into the actual light, there was this ladder. So again, this was something that we had to climb up into, and I had to pass the equipment to them.
And you could see there's not a lot of room here.
No, yeah. Well, that other picture, that's my favorite picture that Joe took. That's my journalist picture before I'm ready to go into the light.
We always kid people. We always say we're like Scully and Mulder, like the X-Files. These guys are just having a great time. Now this is out. This was actually, we were out at the light.
Yeah, and you could see it's not a big area at all.
This is the lens right in here, I think.
Yep.
I think we asked them about, during one of the recordings, you'll hear it, but we asked them about whether the light would go on because it would blind anybody,
Right.
And this is looking down.
Oh, yeah, look, there's eggs in that picture. Is this one of yours, Joe?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Look, you could actually see there's 3 of them.
Yeah.
And then it looks like there's something else, like something from a boat, like one of those floatable keychain things.
Right.
Yeah.
That was a lot of stuff. This place needed to be renovated and cleaned up, but
now notice we don't see Joe yet up here.
I love this picture.
This was fun. Obviously you were up there because you took this picture.
Right. This is a great, I tell you, it's great guys.
Yeah, this one hangs in
And
my
what was
office.
this? Was this one of your pictures?
No, this is one of yours.
Oh.
What was happening here?
I have no idea. But it looks like he's trying to open up this hatch or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't
There's one of the
that.
eggs.
Oh, that's pretty. Oh, you can see a bone back here too. I mean, it was just like feathers, bones, eggs. Oh, this is one of yours. What was this, like a solar panel, I guess?
It's something, no, I don't know what it is. It looks like some sort of, maybe someone in the audience might know. It almost looks like some kind of machine, or maybe for doing something or other. I don't know. Could it be solar? I guess it could. It has all those little probes on it.
Right.
Yeah, maybe it is. There's the boat.
So now you could see this is where the tide was at. So we had to climb up on this ladder to get up to this platform up here. So you could see we were like coming out of the boat and having to lift ourselves over it. So
I actually had one picture, I think, of you actually climbing up, but it's just for the top of your head. But you were trying to. But
this, you have an idea. I guess too that maybe this was an area where the ships even came in and they're loading dock, because I think it's kind of small to be a platform for a helicopter.
Yeah, and I'm also wondering though how they actually got over to the keeper's house, unless maybe at low tide, or there used to be a ramp or something.
Yeah. But look, this is a good shot. I mean, you could see, and it's so upsetting to think of what happened.
You can almost feel like see bodies in there, or faces.
Yeah. Awful.
This is kind of interesting. This was like a reflection of the light, and I'm on the right there, and one of the Coast Guardsmen is there. Oh, we have a visitor.
All right, so let me tell this story now. This is a famous story.
By the way, everybody, I have a 1-minute recording of this, actually, the chopper arriving. So I'm going to play that.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah. All right. So we had gotten into the light. And like I said, Joe and I were already tired. We were lugging camera equipment around. We were climbing up ladders and staircases. And there's a picture of Joe that's coming up, of him coming into the light. And his hands are in like these pockets of, I don't even want to know what it was. So we were exhausted by the time we got into this area. And it was a very peaceful day in May, a weekday, as we had mentioned earlier. And all of a sudden we see this helicopter zooming towards the lighthouse. It came so close that it was, I can't even believe we could see the people in it. It ended up being Nassau County Police Department. And I mean, this was, after a couple of years after September 11th. And so they saw our activity at the lighthouse and they came to check it out. And but I was a little nervous because I didn't know what was going on. And they literally circled the entire lighthouse and they were waving. And I look at Joe and he's grinning from ear to ear. And I said, "What are you smiling about?" And he says, "I love this work. It's like being on Magnum PI." And it was just, it was something to see a helicopter right there flying next to you. I mean, and this, it was closer than this. I don't know if we have anything closer.
No, that's it.
This is when they were first arriving, because I didn't
Right.
take any pictures. I was like frozen.
Yeah, it was really close. It literally was, I mean, if you could think of maybe your house, an average size house on Long Island, and it would be like from the kitchen to the bedroom. I mean, it was that close, you know, maybe
Yeah,
20
it was
feet or
very
something.
close.
And this
Yeah,
is them, they're
And
heading
going
back. They're
off,
happy
yeah.
now. And I'm smiling from ear to ear.
right.
And then we were back there. All right. And then, so let's play some sound files.
What happened to the other photos because I had a whole bunch
Well,
of
they should be
the interior
the
I had sent
interior.
you.
Let me take a look. Why don't you talk about what was going on there? I'll see if I can.
Yeah, because I had a whole bunch of you on the inside that I had sent you.
Yeah, that one okay, I think I found them. All right, that's fine. You know what we can do?
Because that showed the different rooms.
Right, yeah, I don't know why they didn't get included. Okay, but we have, we can get this to work. I see, yeah, we're
Okay.
missing a bunch. I don't know why they didn't show up there.
Okay.
But just talk about our visit. I'm gonna.
Okay, while Joe's getting that up, we have
Yeah.
2 questions, and usually we take questions at the end, but I'll take these while he's getting this up. Did you find any treasure? From Captain Kidd? No. Joe and I have been looking at all the locations all over Long Island. We have not come across any treasure. I hate to say, only those eggs that you saw. And okay, this one we answered. Did the British kill the Patriots? Yes, they did. It was the British that actually had chained them to the reefs, and when the tide rose, you know, it's when they were killed, unfortunately.
I'm opening up Adobe Bridge, and then we can look at them in there. I'm
Okay.
just waiting for it to boot up here.
Yeah, because I had taken.
Yeah, no, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what happened. I think that file got corrupted or something, but I have them.
Okay.
You'll see them. I'm just waiting for
Yeah,
them.
because one of them is the one of you.
Yes.
You know.
I never get, you know, just so you know, everybody, I never get into photos. And I never take my own photos.
Right, but I take a lot of you.
You do.
And
you do.
especially with this new book, we took a lot of photos of each other. Starting next month, I'm going to probably begin another Facebook contest.
Mhm.
So if you guys want to follow me on Facebook, it's not a friends page, it's a professional page that you'd have to like. And I post pictures of Joe and I, either selfies or, you know, individual. And you have to figure out where we are, and it will give you clues as to the book, the new stories in the book. So, you know, that's a lot of fun, and I should be starting that probably in another week or so.
And let me see if I can get this to work for you.
Okay.
And let me go back to share. And let's see, where is it?
Okay, we have Angela says, has anyone ever found physical proof of the executions, chains, bones, anything? Not that I know of. That's why it still does go under a legend story, because there isn't any proof, but the story has gone on for years and years. But that would be kind of cool if something was found in that area.
Yeah, that would be.
Yeah, poor Joe.
All right, can you see that?
Yes, okay.
All right, let me see if I can zoom in there. Do you see a full screen?
Yeah, can you go
Good.
to the first one, because it shows that overview of the lighthouse, the very first photo.
Oh, right here?
Yeah.
How's that?
Yeah, that's a nice view of it.
It is.
And you
it
can
is.
see all the birds on the rocks there.
Right here, yeah, look at that. It's like Alfred Hitchcock, the birds.
Yeah. But see, the windows in the house are boarded up.
I see that,
You
yeah.
could actually see it, yeah.
Yeah,
So it was very dark in there.
that's actually a good picture, yeah. It's just, it was all right as long as I was standing still. But if I was trying to climb up anything, forget about it.
All right. So there's you with your camera.
Yeah, that's a cool
all
boat.
ready to go.
Oh, look at this. They're waiting for us.
Yeah, the seagulls, the cormorants.
You know, I never noticed the cormorant in there. Wow,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
cool. It looks like they're waiting for the spirits to return.
Mm-hmm. All right, this really shows you. Now, again, this was, what did we say, 2008?
Mm-hmm.
I can only imagine what it must look like now. But this was all peeling paint. So this must have been maybe the first floor. And in Joe's hand, he's holding his recorder and the electromagnetic field indicator, the ghost meter. It looks like that's mine, actually. I must have given it to you.
Probably, yeah. Mine stopped working a long time ago.
Yeah, I haven't. Yours bit the dust. So
mine never worked right. The probe thing, the wire wasn't right. So look at this place.
Yeah, look at the ceiling.
This is your typical apartment in New York City.
The boarded windows.
I look very worried there. Oh boy.
I mean, look at this.
This is disgusting. No wonder. And you know, we had to climb. We had to put our hands on this stuff, especially when we climbed upstairs. I guess is going.
Yeah, because I think this now is going into the actual tower because it's starting to get curved. So I think you were taking a picture.
There it is.
Right, this is my favorite picture.
This is her favorite picture.
This is Joe trying to get up into the light. And you could see
go into the
area. It's you could barely stand in there. It was very narrow. So once you could see where Joe's chest is. You had to
the opening.
You had to hoist yourself out of this thing. It was not easy at all.
And I was a little bit. I wasn't. I didn't fit too. Yes, I didn't fit too well in there. I was felt.
So yeah, here's another picture. So this is Joe finally made it.
I think this is right before the helicopter arrived, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe did you take this picture when you
Maybe it was afterwards, yeah.
After, yeah.
Oh, I did get a picture of it.
You did get a picture of it.
Okay. And there's another one. And then that's looking down at me. You could see the steps. So I think we got all the pictures.
I think we got,
right?
yeah. What's this one here? That's another view of the boat. Wow, look at the way that's enclosed here.
Oh, yeah, there's a good shot of the ladder. Do you see the rung? Here, go back to that, Joe. Mm-hmm. Look at the rung. They're just these little tiny.
We had to climb up. I don't know why.
Look at that.
The spirits are messing with me here.
Yeah. Oh, wait, there's a couple more down there that we didn't get to.
Okay.
I need you to go back. Yeah, there's still, yeah.
Sure. Look at that.
Yeah, this is a neat one because you see the staircase and the hall and the rooms around it.
It really does look like a horror movie, doesn't it?
It does.
Okay. All right, so that's cool. That's cool. Now, of course, we have EVPs. Let's play. Let's see what we have here. All right, so
now you want to explain what was happening?
Yeah,
before
let me come back to the screen. Sure. Okay. So EVPs are basically recordings, tape recordings, and the way they work is the spirits monkey around with the energy of sound, either the ambient noise of the room, they call it the white noise. There's different types of noises. This is like a very filtered kind of background noise. And so when we use EVPs that use this background noise, some of the recordings are whispery, hard to hear. We have something in the future we used a lot, which is called a ghost box radio, which actually has human voice coming off of radio stations. So we don't have that on this trip, right, Kerriann?
Yeah, this was way before we were using the ghost box. We were just using the regular recorders for white noise EVPs.
That's right. So so the EVP basically is the voice of the spirits. Okay. All right, now let's see. We can get the voice of the spirits to show up here. We want sound. Okay, so this is one of our favorite ones to play. Some of you may have heard this one. We're in the lighthouse, and I think were we downstairs in the main area?
Mhm.
just walked in, right? We just
Yes.
came from outside. And you said it should be an orb or something. And my mediumship kicks in. Often you'll see especially in the next book, where we'll pick up something and even you will hear it, right? In the one place, I can't mention where it was, but the spirit said something like cool or something. And you said, I heard that.
Right.
So usually when we hear something, we call it out. And then when we play the recording back later, we see if there was actually something that we intuitively heard.
Should get an orb or something.
You will.
All right, so then this would be.
Okay. This is all the house. Uh-huh. What was that?
They're probably opening the door, I don't know.
That's
So you heard this woman wailing go like da 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 da, like that, almost singing. And then you hear this, what I think it sounds like a man saying, leave her alone. It's like, leave her alone, like that, or something like that. But there's two voices. I'll play it.
But
one more
what's interesting before you play it,
Yes.
Because the Coast Guard, they always have to have a legitimate reason, an
Yes.
explanation. But he said, in a separate conversation, he said maybe it was a bird, but you hear the seagulls in that clear
Yeah,
as
they're
day.
different. Clear as day.
And if the two other Coast Guardsmen were not with us at the time, this is when we first came in, if they had closed the door, we would have known because there was no source of light. The only source of light was coming from that door. So if they had closed the door, which the other Coast Guard thought that's what made the noise, we would not have been able to see. So, and it doesn't sound like a door closing because you hear that wailing sound and then you hear another type of wailing sound. And again, this was on like a Thursday. It wasn't the height of summer on a Saturday where you have
There's
boaters.
nobody
The
around.
water, as you could see in the pictures, there was no one in the water. And it was early in the season on a weekday. So
Well,
if
I
you
think-
want to play it again, Joe.
Yeah, I think also just it's a very melodic type of wailing, the first one, and it's a woman's voice. The second
Does
one's
everyone
more-
hear it? Yeah, so we'll play it again.
Okay,
Should get an orb or something.
you will.
you will. There's the
All right,
premonition.
so then this would be.
Here it comes.
Okay. This is all the house. Uh-huh. What was that?
They're probably opening the door, I don't know.
That's
So you could hear how these
There's two.
sounds. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's two.
two.
And they kind of just swirl around this place. Now you haven't heard this one, Kerriann.
No.
So we're walking around and I say, this place is very haunted. I say, incredible. And then you hear spirit. Now this isn't a white noise EVP, so it's hard to hear. I'll play it a couple times. And then the spirit says one more thing. And then I respond, a lot of energy. So I must have heard it or felt something had happened.
very haunted. Incredible. A lot of energy.
Did you hear it? One more
Wow.
thing. A woman's voice, one more
Yeah,
thing.
play that again.
Sure.
Very haunted. Incredible. A lot of energy.
One more
And what's
thing.
interesting with the white noise EVPs, like you don't hear Joe responding to that like you would when we do our ghost box recordings. So it's not until Joe plays it back that you hear that added person. And obviously I was the only woman there, and that's certainly not me.
No, it
So-
wasn't you. And
yeah.
not only that, but after that EVP occurs, then I say, well, a lot of energy. In other words, like there's some energy going on here, which is probably creating the voice. The
Yeah,
EVP.
play that one more time.
Sure. Yeah, it's a fun. You've never
I
heard this
like
one.
this.
See,
No.
you told me some stories I never heard, and I had
Yeah,
to
I never
reciprocate
heard
some.
this one.
Here we go.
Very haunted. Incredible. A lot of energy.
I mean, that's really clear. That's a class A EVP.
Yeah. See, when we first did these investigations, I've gotten better. You get better at the field work. And so I've gone back to some of these old stories, and I've re-listened to some of the recordings and say, gee, I missed this one. So
Yeah.
Kerriann's like, why did you put that in the book? So we'll have plenty of time for that. Okay, the next one you haven't heard either. So now this one, you have to listen real carefully on this one, because Kerriann says it's really hard to believe. And I say, anybody want to talk to us? And I always get an answer. But when I start to say, anybody want to talk to us, as soon as I say that, you hear the beginning of an older man, sounds like maybe a lighthouse keeper. He says something like, I have a new secretary. Okay. Tell me if you can hear. So remember, he's going to start talking under my voice. As I said, you want to talk to us. So.
It's really hard to believe.
Anybody want to talk to us?
Did you hear it?
No. No.
All right, listen.
Let's play again.
Yeah, so as soon as I'll, okay, here we go.
It's really hard to believe.
Anybody want to talk to us?
Oh, now I hear
You can hear it. You can hear the secretary.
All right,
I'll
play
one
it
more
up.
time.
Yeah, it's sort of
sure.
under you. Yeah.
It's under me. Unfortunately,
Okay.
you start, yeah.
It's really hard to believe.
Anybody want to talk to us?
Now that's
Yeah,
not
that's
one of the,
weird. No, that's not one of
It's
the,
not
it
one of the
sounds like an
Coast Guard.
older man.
an older man like at a desk
Yeah.
saying, I have a new secretary. I could see him, a guy with a beard. He's maybe leaning over the desk and he's filling out some kind of administration form or something. I'll
Yeah,
play it
wait.
one more time.
It's really hard to believe.
Anybody want to talk to us?
But the
Yeah,
secretary.
that was not one of those guys.
No,
Absolutely
and,
not.
and it's absolutely, I mean, you can hear him clearly talk about a secretary.
Yeah, that is very
that
weird.
cool?
And our audience members here are sending in, saying, wow, oh my God.
Oh, they can hear it.
I'm
Good,
glad you
good.
hear it. 'Cause
Yeah, always
we
let
don't want
us
you to think
know.
we're nuts. I hope you hear it. So I'm glad you do.
They think that we're nuts now. Wait till we have the ghost box recordings in the next book.
Oh,
You're not going to
gosh.
believe
Yeah.
the conversations. All right, here we go. Now this is a little bit of humor. I always like to put a little humor in
Yes.
for Kerriann here. Now listen to the two of us as we're climbing up. Now I don't know if this photo is where we actually were climbing, but I think we were actually climbing into the lens. But
Oh, so this is just us carrying on, basically.
yeah, and
Okay.
I think it's
I can
where
only
we were going
imagine.
ascending up into the top. So anyway.
Wow, it gets dark up here.
Yeah, watch your head.
It's totally dark. Is it, oh, there we go. Kerriann, if you
Thank
you
God
feel
for my flash.
somebody's head hitting you in the
Yeah,
back,
see,
that's
I'm
me.
afraid to go too much more because I'm going to kill myself. So if you want me to come down and then you could go up and
yeah.
get a shot.
Is there a light up? Is there a
You have
room?
the light up there? No, there's no light.
Okay.
There's
All
no
right,
light. So
I
we were in
remember
a
this
dark-
now.
we're-
This
we're-
was the, okay. I don't think these stairs were up.
No, I
what
don't
is
think it-
this? I think this was in the tower part. That was the attic. Okay, there was like a third floor and attic, and there was no light at all. Like the door, the open door, nothing could get up there. So
Right.
what I did is I kept flashing my flash, but we were moving around in there, and I thought I was going to kill myself because we couldn't see, and we didn't know if there was anything on the ground or what.
That's right.
It's
Yeah,
like- it was crazy. So I kept shooting my flash off
it's
to
funny.
see, but you hear me say, I feel like I'm going to kill myself up here.
Yeah, it was
That's fine.
dangerous. I mean, we
Yeah.
had to be
Yeah.
real careful. There was one, do you remember that time? I won't mention the place. Do you remember the time we were walking through this restaurant?
Oh,
And
yes.
It wasn't Country House, but they had an open
Yes.
cabinet on the floor,
We
and
almost
I wasn't
It's
watching.
like
it.
something out of the Munsters.
God, it
you
was
know.
crazy.
Yeah. But
Right,
even
we-
in this next book, we were up in attics and stuff that they
Yeah.
told us, like, be careful of certain floorboards. And,
Oh yeah,
it's crazy stuff.
yeah, it is. It is. I got one more, I think.
All right. Oh, the helicopter. Oh, you captured this about the Magnum PI. Okay.
Now you don't hear Kerriann saying
Oh, okay.
why you smiling because it's drowned out
Okay.
by the copter. And I edited this down. Once the chopper arrives, it hovers for a minute, maybe a few minutes. So it's a long piece. So I did edit the loud part just so it didn't take all night. But
This doesn't go on now, right?
It's not all the,
No, it's like a solar sensor.
you can hear it in the background. It's
Make
like
sure I
out
don't
here
catch it.
somewhere.
Yeah, I was worried about that.
We hadn't become aware that they were heading
My,
our way yet.
yeah, my list information.
yeah. On the one side, it says prison, keep off. It's sort of unseen to keep off, but it says prison still. All painted all over the side of the building.
You're gonna see how close this thing is when you hear this clip. You'll get a sense of how close they were
Are you
to
from?
us.
You're from here or from New Hampshire originally? Oh, you are. Excellent. I got a couple friends up
You
there.
hear me say, are we getting a
Salem,
visitor?
New Hampshire. Salem. Yep, Salem. Is that where you're from? I'm from Manchester. Nice. I used to drive up through there all the time. New Hampshire. Oh, look, we got a visitor?
And see her laughing there, yeah.
Were they coming to check us out?
Yeah,
Yeah, Joe, I'll give you
they
this.
bother us. I'm sure we bother them with our helicopters too, you know.
That was great. I never heard that.
No.
Really brings the whole day together.
Yeah, I didn't realize, I mean, usually I record, when we go in the field, I usually record the interview, Kerriann records. I usually record the walk around, but I didn't realize I had that piece of it was right at the end, I think.
Yeah,
So.
that was good. I mean, this was fun for us to do it, this study tonight, because there was stuff that we both
both of
know
us,
about,
there was stuff we didn't hear or see for the first time
which
or
is great.
talk about.
So
So,
we have a question here from Laura Lee. Are you ever worried that a spirit may follow you? That's a very good question. Honestly, no, although we did have Annette Williamson from the Country House follow us.
How about William City Mount?
Oh, and William City Mount, yes.
And Robert.
All right, so maybe we've had a
Townsend.
few.
We have
Well,
a
no,
lot.
he visited you, not me. But it's not that often. Mainly in the case of like the Country House with Annette Williamson, we had so much communication with her. I think we discussed this in past shows that we had the documentary being filmed. So that was one thing. With William City Mount, he has ended up being one of our, almost like a spirit guide, especially to me. He likes to assist me in my office at times when I'm working on a story that has to do with him. There's another whole chapter, I'll give you this little bit of tidbit in the new book about him and his house. But generally, no. They, depending on what these spirits are, if they're place centered, they stay in the locations. So it's not anything that we really worry about. They don't attach themselves. People are always worried about that because they watch the movies, like, oh, they see these spirits attaching themselves. Can it exist? Yes, but usually those are very weak people that don't have a sense of place or belonging. I'm a believer, of a person of faith, born and raised a Catholic. So for me, I'm very firm in my faith and know that there's nothing that I would allow to stay with me. But on occasion, we have had, like Annette Williamson and William City Mount, come along for the ride.
Yeah, she's not telling you. Yeah, William City Mount was urging her to change the book cover on one of the older books.
Yes, I know, that's a whole other story for when we do something on him. Okay, another question. Someone wrote, you could tell it was close with that helicopter. All right, any negative energy at the lighthouse? Not that I felt, but I wasn't as in tuned to things as I am now. I might feel differently. You picked up a little bit of that negative energy there, I think, Joe, correct?
Yeah, I think so. Thinking back on it, and this is kind of how we opened, our first dialogue tonight. What I thought of the trip. I think it was more sadness than creepiness.
Yeah, that's right. I remember going
melancholy,
through the recordings. Yeah,
feeling like helplessness.
Yes.
Kind of,
yeah.
and I think that's why the spirits gave us the sound of the woman wailing, whether that was just an imprint that was stuck in the air, the energy of the place, and we triggered it with the door opening, or maybe it just, they wanted us, that was what the message was, mediumistically, that they wanted us to know there was a lot of sadness there. I did have an EVP, which I didn't include. It was hard to hear, but basically it was a woman that said, they don't know that, it was a man, I'm sorry, that they don't know that I'm dead.
Oh, really?
That I'm dead, yeah. But again, it was very hard to hear that one.
Okay.
Yeah, good question.
All right, this one, how was the journey down the ladders? I think I must have blocked that in my head. Probably not good.
Not good.
And I was looking at those photos of me. I think I had boots with a heel on again.
Yeah, we were not.
So
We were
it was
not.
probably
We were
rather
not ready for that.
treacherous.
Yeah, it was. And, I remember, I think I put my hand in dung, right?
Yeah,
When I
you
was
did.
climbing
It
up,
was just
I was reaching
terrible.
up to grab onto something so I wouldn't fall
Right.
down the rungs. And
Right.
something like, Joe, you don't want to know what you just put your fingers in or something. So
Right,
it was pretty
exactly.
bad.
So it was difficult with that. And then in other investigations, we've been in cupolas, those little boxes that you see on the top of old houses. Usually that would be some sort of a ladder.
How about the cemeteries? Like when we went to the country house, we had to climb up.
Oh yeah, that was a
hill
steep
through
hill.
all
When
the
we did the
bramble and
documentary,
briar.
they were literally dragging me by my arm to pull me up. That was very steep. So yeah, we have outdoor adventures, indoor adventures, the basements, sort of like those, like you see, I keep referring back to the TV show, The Munsters, when you pull that thing down and they walk through it. I mean, all kinds of stuff. If I look back now, a lot more physical work than I had
It
anticipated.
is. When we were into talking,
It's tiring. We get tired.
yeah, when we heard the cannon fire, it was a rainy day
Mhm.
and it was cold. I mean, there have been a lot of times when we've been out there, it's freezing
Yeah,
cold.
exactly.
And we went Potter's Field. I think we felt that like we would, if we stayed there, we would get sick. So
Yeah.
sometimes the energy does get to you.
Yeah. So someone is asking, anonymous attendee, or are you doing a show on William Sidney Mount? We probably will, but we may wait on that until the new book comes out because it's like a continuing ongoing saga.
Oh,
and
it's incredible.
We have some really good stuff with that. We actually had done a whole lecture on him a couple of years ago for the Ward Melville Heritage Organization. But at that point we hadn't been in the house at all. And we were allowed access for the new book. So it's the only hint I'm going to give.
Yeah,
about the new
we
stories.
would love to tell you more about the house.
Yeah, but we got to keep it under wraps for now. Okay, we have another one. What about a show on Ghost Box with live recordings? That we will do because, again, this next book, I would say out of the 18 chapters, probably 15 of them have live Ghost Box recordings. And what we're going to do, similar to what we did with the other books.
Yeah, let me show him the Ghost Box. Let me grab it.
Okay, so while he's getting that, what we're going to do with this book, and I put an author's note in the book, when it comes out, I have the actual transcripts, okay, that Joe puts together, the reports of the Ghost Box recordings. And then what you'll be able to do is you'll be able to go onto my website and you'll go onto Ghost Box recordings and you'll click something and it will take you to Joe's website and you will be able to sit and read the book and follow the transcript and hear the EVPs like you do on the webinar where you could read it, because sometimes it's hard when you are just listening to it without knowing what's coming. And so the book is going to be interactive and we have a lot of recordings, but this is what Joe was showing you.
Yeah, so this is the Ghost Box we use. There's several flavors of this. There's the Ovilus, there's the SB11, there's all these ones that use sampled sound digital speech chips, but this is actually AM radio, AM FM radio. We usually use FM because it's quieter.
Yeah.
But it's been hacked so that the wires that control the scanning unit are been altered. So it keeps scanning. It stops only briefly when the spirits mess with it. They'll stop the scanner at a particular person talking, and that is what generates the voice. So the spirit's using morphed human voice, excerpts of sounds and vowels and so forth from people talking on the radio. And because of that, the answers are real time. So we don't have to play it like Kerriann said earlier. You don't have to go back to the lab and upload the file and listen to see if you got anything. You actually can have a conversation with the spirits real time.
And we will eventually do a show just on that. But again,
think so,
because
yeah.
we primarily used it for this last book,
Oh,
we can't let the cat out of the bag yet. But what I think we'll do, I will be writing my lecture for next fall, and it will be a general lecture about, what we do and the stories in the book. But then with the webinars, we'll customize it like we do now and say, okay, well, tonight we're just going to talk about Williamson and Maurer. Tonight we're just talk about the Ghost Box and play all of the recordings. So make sure if you have not signed up for getting emails from me, the newsletter, make sure you do that, because that will keep you updated on the webinars and when the book comes out. Someone just said, when is the new book coming out? It's scheduled for release in September, and we should be on book tour starting the beginning of October. Usually it goes through October.
I missed that. I missed the actual.
I really do. I miss it too.
When we go out to the book tours, there's a whole, let's say we go to the library. We both take our cars there, and we have all our equipment, the PA system and the computer and all the books and everything. And we have this whole routine we go through. We get there like an hour and a half early, and we set everything up and we test to make sure everything plays properly. And then we set up the projector, so they have a wall projector so we could see it. You could play the PowerPoint and the transcript on the walls for the audience. So it's
we
fun.
Actually have some people asking if it's possible. I don't even know if it's possible to do a Ghost Box demo.
Absolutely.
Right now. All right. Before you do that,
now?
Yeah, I don't know if it would work.
No, we have to set that up, but you want to do a webinar like that, Kerriann? We can. It doesn't have to be part of the book. We could just do it.
Yeah,
you guys want to?
I guess they want to hear the scanning before.
I could do that. Yeah.
You could do that. All right. And
then
then
some logistical issues. We have to see how the microphone works, but let me see if you can.
All right. Well, while you're doing that, we have another question from Francis.
Let's answer the questions first.
Do any of these spirits you investigate come to you when you sleep? For me, no. Have you ever had that happen, Joe?
No, they come to me during the day usually.
Even
if I'm at the bar, they knock on the door. They want to sit next to me and buy a drink.
Right.
No, I have some, and Kerriann also has spirit guides. I have a couple of spirit guides. One of my spirit friends is Melissa. That's her name, and it's to the point now where actually, if I turn the Ghost Box on, I can hear her answer questions, and she sounds the same way I hear her with my clairaudience, mediumistically.
I mean, we've never done this before, but if you want, Joe, if you want to get it scanning.
Yeah, I'll scan it.
And I could ask
a
question. We don't know if this would work though.
No, I'd rather do that another time.
Right.
Because
when
we want to figure out how we're going to do it, how the audience could answer questions. But I'll turn it on tonight. So anyway, yes, in answer to your question, they can come in dreams. I have several reading clients where they say that deceased family members do visit them in their dreams. So I know that happens a lot. So if that's happening to you, it's totally valid to have that experience. For me, no, as a medium, they bang on my door to talk to me during the day. So. Okay.
So a question is, how do you turn it off? Are you talking about medium? How do you turn mediumship off? Yeah. Or how do you turn the Ghost Box off?
The mediumship. Probably. It's like anything in life. In this business, it's very important. This Kerriann and I do this, like when we're going to do an investigation, we always set sacred space. In other words, we always outline what the parameters, what the boundaries are of our work with the spirit world. Because if you don't, you'll get any kind of energy, positive or negative. So
that's the thing. You actually have to be trained to turn it off a lot of times, because if not, it could interfere.
It can be, in the beginning, it was overwhelming. Like you get stuff happening, you see things, you feel things, you hear voices. After a while, I find when I focus on other things, any of that goes into the background. And when you work with the spirits over and over again, eventually they know when the times are appropriate to talk to you, when you're going to be tuned in and listening. Because if you can block it, you can tune it out by just deciding not to tune in. Okay, so let's get this on. So we'll just show you the scanning. Turn up the volume here. Can you hear that? Can you hear that static? All right.
Yeah.
So they're actually saying things. All right, so I heard some words there. So what happens is you hear the voices coming and going, and the spirits pick the voices of people on the air, and they answer the questions many times in their own voice. For example, I was at one location where someone asked, "What's heaven like?" And they said, "Perfect." So you get answers like that, and they're really clear. And again, we can't share any surprises, but
right. And also it's hard because I know people are asking for you to ask a question now, but again, with the work we do, we want to have respect for those on the other side who have crossed. So it's not something that you could just, okay, well, let's demand.
I mean, we could do it now, but it's going to be hit and miss. And I think we have to probably set up a microphone for this and, do something.
Yeah.
So,
but at least you could see what it looks like. And I promise you, we will do a show.
We will do something.
And you will be able to hear them because again, it, as you heard, the scan runs very quickly. So when we do ask questions, like we open up the space and make sure that everything is positive and that nothing bad will come in. So there's a process to do this. And then, we ask the questions and we might not always hear it right away until Joe goes back and slows it down and we could listen to
Kerriann, you know what? When we do the next webinar on haunted inanimate objects, I have a couple of recordings.
That you did with the ghost box? That you could play?
Yeah, but not during that time when I had the haunted objects. But maybe I'll add a couple to the presentation so they can hear what it actually sounds.
Because it really is interesting, and we've
these
had
these will be separate from the Kerriann's books. So
right, and what brought a lot of validity to working with this was that, we were at these places on investigation. They were houses, mansions, restaurants, whatever they were. And the people we were interviewing were regular people, people that, are skeptical or who don't know a lot about this type of work. And they literally heard, and you hear them in our recordings saying, "Oh my God, he said this," or "She said that," or "Did you hear that?" So that gave us validity, saying, we're not the only ones hearing this, that other people who aren't even accustomed to listening to these types of recordings are hearing the answers. And there are sometimes that, let's say we were with one other person, that the three of us, me, Joe, and whoever we were interviewing, would say, "They said this," we all heard it. And so it's amazing to have that. And there's a lot of that kind of interaction in what we have for the new book. So, so again, it's not something that we could just sort of rush into doing.
I think if we did something like that, first we would test it to see if you could hear the actual recorder. You're not just hearing a little static of it. Right. And then I think we would maybe format it like we have audience members would submit their questions ahead of time.
Yeah. So, but it's something, you guys always come up with good ideas. And speaking of which, because we're coming to the end of the night here, I would like to make a couple of announcements again about signing up for the newsletter. That will keep you updated on when the book comes out, when our webinars are. If you are interested in getting signed copies of the current books that I have out, which are Historic Haunts of Long Island, Historic Crimes of Long Island, and The Metal. You can get them on Amazon, but you can also get them directly through my website. And you'll get a signed copy, and I could also personalize the books for you. And there's also that new children's book by Rachel Kempster Barry, which is based off of Historic Crimes of Long Island. It's for middle grade fiction, and it's a really cute book. I was really disappointed because I was given a whole bunch of copies in September of this book that I was able to sell at events. That didn't happen, unfortunately. So I have all these books, the children's book, but it's a great book. So I have that available as well. I do want to say for next month, if you want to write this down, it will be in the newsletter though, and upcoming emails. But on Tuesday, March 9th, we are going to do a show on ghosts of inanimate objects. And this is going to specialize, this is Joe's area of expertise. And also because you guys have told us what you wanted to hear, On Wednesday, March 24th, we're going to do a program on the webinar on the Sag to Coast Manor out in Bayshore, which has an interesting history as well as some, interesting legends and things that have gone there. And we have EVPs from that too, I think too, Joe, right?
We do, and we have that. I have that recording with the tour guide on the second floor, where we both experienced something, and I have that recording. So.
Yeah, so as long as you guys like it, we'll continue on. Francis says thank you, and then we have another question about Setauket. I think we have that coming up maybe in April or May. We were going to do something on Strong's Neck, Setauket, Culper Spiring. We'll definitely do that because that's always one of our favorite topics as well. And I think that's it. So I want to thank you all once again for joining us, for keeping us going. It's been a rough road, not being able to do events and do what we love, but you've kept us going, and we really appreciate it. So I just want to thank you again for your continued support and coming and joining us for these webinars.
We really enjoy having everybody here, and because there's a lot to share, and it's fun to share it with somebody.
All right, we're getting a lot of thank yous, and I appreciate that very much. So until next time, okay, we will see you all, what did I say? Tuesday, March 9th.
March 9th, yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Have a good night, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.